What was it about the Sphere that made you want to get in there?
Entirely new form of entertainment, the Wild West. I had some experience with the sound system because I was lucky enough to be the first musician to play through the sound system at the Beacon Theater, which is, of course, owned by the same people who own the Sphere. It's a very directional, hyper-directional sound system. It's so hyper-directional that you can stand on an X in front of it and hear a song, and the singer will be singing in French, and you can step to the right, and the singer is singing in Spanish. It's like a laser sound. So that's one of the elements. The video screens, it's an entirely new form of entertainment. So of course we wanted to get in there.
You're basically innovating here and you're going to do it differently than how U2 did it.
Yes.
Because you're such radically different performers.
Yes.
Is that like thrilling? Is it intimidating?
Thrilling. And we've done a lot of large scale events. It's a strange subtext to what we do as a band. We're pretty comfortable. We've developed a language and a team that can really move in that world. We do full theatrical productions with actors regularly. So we had a team in place, so that made it less intimidating. And every New Year's Eve at Madison Square Garden, we put on a very large theatrical event. So that made it less intimidating. But something that you just said was very important, which was that I loved the U2 show, and I love U2. And it was fantastic. What's so interesting to me is how different this is going to be. And I think that the venue is going to grow as each successive artist comes in. I mean, I can't imagine what Beyonce would do in a place like this. She should come. Somebody that can, people who really think creatively out of the box like that are going to have a field day in here.
And you want to be immersive, but you don't want to be so immersive that people forget you're there.
Yep, and you don't want to be overwhelming. The first time I got the demonstration, this was in Burbank in the mini Sphere. They put you on this roller coaster. And it's so hyper realistic that there were people there that almost threw up. It was like, whoa, So the first thought that went through my mind when I saw it was the rules of theater are going to have to be adhered to for this to work, or it's just going to be too much. You're going to have to know when to turn it off, turn it on, to go small, go big, go dark. I was very lucky to have had the opportunity to work on a Broadway play, and I learned a lot of things from that. There are rules that can't be broken.
Can you talk to me a little bit about what you're able to do here that you can't do somewhere else?
All kinds of things. It's an entirely new, at least the way I look at it, form of entertainment. You don't want to make it look like you're projecting something on a wall. You want to use the content to create a sense of space that feels realistic. That boundaries, that you're dropping boundaries. That the normal boundaries of space and sonic space are vanish. That was what we were trying to do with it. So we built it around, this is our model was that this is a normal Phish show. And one of the things that we always try to do is, I mean, this is a tall order, but have sort of freeform jams within the composed music that, goes beyond the bar line and beyond scales to a place where it's a little bit more like pure energy. That's sort of the goal. Like
a normal Phish show is different every night, which is not how most acts do it.
Yes. Yes, a normal Phish show is different every night, and it's not how most acts do it. And so we used that, our love of variety, and we tried to use the elements of the Sphere to build on that.
U2 came in and they were going to do 20 shows. They ended up doing 40.
Yeah.
And it's the same show every night. You guys are doing 4 shows. No one comes to Vegas for a residency of 4 nights.
Right.
Why are you doing 4, not 40 or 400?
Well, we like to have every show be unique. It's just what we do. And we were in discussions about adding shows because the tickets, were pretty tough to get. And we had a conversation with our team, and the option was either to repeat the 4 nights exactly, which we've never done in 41 years, or put up a second weekend of shows that would be really good but not astounding. And we wanted them to be astounding. We hope that what we're presenting we feel really good about it. But it's just the amount of rehearsal time. The only way to do it is to do the same show over and over again, or to put up decent content visually on the wall, but not mind-melting A-list quality, I don't know where I'm even
Mind-melting, huh?
Yeah, like mind-melting content. The woman who's our co-creative director, Abby Holmes, and myself, we're talking in June. We've been working on this for almost a year. So that just shows you how much work it takes to get 4 great shows up there. So that was our thinking. But I think now that it's open, it will become a venue. And people will use it in many different ways.
It's a place you might play again.
Oh, I think we'll be back again for sure. But doing the 4 nights, we had a lot of discussions about it, believe me. And we chose this is our choice, was to put 4 unique nights. And there's a theme that runs through them. That was kind of important to us too.
Can you tell us the theme?
No.
It's still a secret.
Yes.
Come on.
No, I can't tell you. But we're not, as a group, we try not to be too literal, too on the nose. So I think this is a way where there's some unity across the 4 nights without it being hammered.
Right. Has there been as you've been rehearsing now, and it's one thing to
Yes.
we've worked on it, we've got this picture in our mind, where you just turn around and are like, wow.
Yeah, that definitely happened. We went up into the seats, and we were kind of looking at the show from the seats and making some adjustments, and it's pretty amazing when you're really actually sitting there. It's 2 things at once. On the one, it's an incredible opportunity to be creative. On the other hand, it's not easy to make content on a flat computer screen and translate it to the servers that put it 3D, because once you start getting curves and stuff, everything changes. So it's a slow, laborious process. But I think it worked, I hope.
I think for people who don't know Phish,
Yeah.
you're one of those bands that you have a huge following and have been incredibly successful, and yet much of the mainstream audience has no idea who you are.
Yes.
You're not played on the radio. The nostalgia band, the 90s, you weren't on MTV.
No.
So you've been around 40 years, 41 years, but it's really not a nostalgia band. It's not like the Mariah Carey set that's coming. No knock on Mariah or anyone else who plays here. So I think people are going to hear that Phish is the second band into the sphere, and there are a lot of people watching this who's going to be like, who?
Yep, correct. And we've now played more sold-out shows at Madison Square Garden than anyone in history, except for Billy Joel. Except for Billy Joel.
Pretty elite
Which
company.
is pretty strange combo, because what you're saying is completely true. I think it's been, when we talk about it today, the 4 of us, we feel like that may have been the greatest blessing that could ever have happened.
Why is that?
Because when we're building a show like this, we're so aware, we have the smartest, most informed audience possibly of any band ever. I know who's coming, and I know how much they know. I know how smart they are, and I know that they've seen 300 shows. So this gives us this opportunity to attempt to operate at the highest level, to honor the fact that these incredible people are giving us their attention. It's not really a casual thing. You know, there's going to be things in the walls of the content of the sphere that audience members are going to recognize, you know, because of the long shared history. We did that on purpose, you know what I mean?
Right. Little Easter eggs for
there's Easter eggs in there for
fans.
So, like I said, you know, it's possible that at this point in time, there were periods in our history where we thought it was a little weird that a band that could have the kind of success that we've had, that we've been blessed with, would be so unknown. And then as the years progressed, we started thinking this might be the best thing that ever, the biggest gift of all of them, that we were able to stay sort of under the radar.
It probably takes some of the handcuffs off that a Beyonce or a Lady Gaga doesn't necessarily have.
You're never trying to measure up to your previous success if you've never had any. You know what I mean? So then you can just roll into Vegas and say, let's make 4 unbelievable shows and then just get out of there. Yeah, there's nothing to live up to.
I mean, I have a 72-hour rule in Vegas, so you're pushing that a little bit. But, you know, so for people who don't know Phish, who haven't been to 300 Phish shows, who is Phish? How would you describe what you guys do?
I think that Phish is a place where everyone is welcome in a rough world, mean world, where you can come, hopefully, and be accepted, and just enter into this community that's really kind, smart, adventurous. That makes me very happy in this world today. Maybe it's a teeny little thing, maybe it's not a big deal, but I feel like it's service. It's some kind of service. I think all 4 of us think that. And after all these years, we're happy about that.
There aren't a lot of those places anymore.
There you go.
Somewhere where, you know, our disagreements get left at the door.
Yeah. You know, stepping into almost an alternate reality for a minute.
Well, the flying giant whale helps with the alternate reality.
Who doesn't like show me a person who doesn't like a flying giant whale. And the whale was dancing to an incredibly creative whale dancer, I'll call it. The whale almost seemed like it was alive, and it came up in front of the band and gave us a little nod. And we were playing to the whale and the dolphins.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a great example. That's what I'm talking about. It's just that's what it's traditionally been. Phish started as a group of friends. We were never, I always tell this story that when we were in Burlington, like, you know, we weren't eligible for the Battle of the Bands. We were too weird. We were doing all this, but we had this gang that used to come see us. And we would play these shows, and we would do these on stage. We'd be talking to the audience and everything. And then after the show was over, everyone would go out to Howard Johnson's. And at like 2 o'clock in the morning, they had a 24-hour Howard Johnson's. It still feels like that.
You're going to need a bigger restaurant.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe how many people I know that are going to. So, I mean, it feels more like a friend group or something, or like a gang or something than, commercial act. I guess I don't know, that just wasn't the way things went for us. And now we've always been really grateful for that, I think.
You told Anthony Mason about 10 years ago that you felt musically a bit like lepers for a while.
Yeah.
Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, probably a little bit.
Tell me why.
Sure. If you actually went back and listened to some of the early stuff, like when I started writing, I wanted to be a composer. My first hero was Leonard Bernstein, West Side Story. When I was really young, like 3rd grade, my mom gave me. I used to listen to it over and over and over again. And so that was my dream. So on our first album, there's a lot of like atonal fugues and with 4-part fugues. Our piano player playing 2 parts and the bass player, and I would write this stuff. So it was weird to begin with. Our drummer often tells us that there's a musician friend of his, I can't remember who it was now, really talented jazz musician or something that he knows, who said he didn't understand Phish, but he was grateful for Phish because they were the weirdest band that ever got big, which is good for all the weird people out there. And that's John Fishman always tells that story. That's pretty accurate.
One of the first gigs you were hired for, did they start playing Thriller in the
Our first gig.
Tell me about this.
Our first gig we played at an ROTC dance, and we got about 3 songs in, and the guy came over and put Thriller on the stereo really loud and told us to stop. And we were really young. We were 18, I think, at the time. But that was how our career got started. But Thriller is
it's a great
greatest
song.
album of all time. Come on.
But did you have
I
a
didn't
moment?
blame him.
Did you have a moment, like, I don't know, halfway through that third song where you're like, maybe this isn't the right choice for me?
No, because we had one fan, and I know who it was. That's the thing. Amy Skelton. And then our second fan was Brian Law. So I know who the first 2 fans were, and they were huge fans. We had 2 people who really liked us. So we just played to them. And then most people did. But the weird thing is, it's still like that.
More than 2 people now, though.
It's a lot more than 2 people. But it's allowed us to develop outside of the boundaries of commercialism. We haven't been hemmed in. And in some ways, it's gotten weirder and weirder. I mean, and yet, we all love music so much. I mean, everyone in the band continues to study and learn and take lessons, and I love that about, it's an organic growing. There's never, I can't imagine if you had a hit album in 1993 or something that you wouldn't be, as a musician, like what did I have back then that I don't have now? Yeah. We never had that, so we feel like the last show is. I sincerely, as I sit here today, believe, and if this makes it into the show, then our fans can chime in the comment section, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think some of the playing in Mexico, which is our last show, was the best playing we've ever. I sincerely believe we're just hitting our stride.
Just now, 41 years in.
Yep. I sincerely believe that. I think the songwriting, the singing, the playing, the improvising is as high a level as it's ever been. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we never had the spotlight on us. So we didn't have to, nobody was convinced.
Just be you.
Yeah, except that we have to answer to an incredibly informed, incredibly intelligent, and actively listening audience. So the responsibility level is very high. That responsibility grows with time. I feel like every time we walk out on stage, we owe this incredible audience more.
You guys like to kind of, I'm sure you go in with a set list, but it's a loose plan for the night.
Not completely, but go ahead.
So you have an idea where the night might go.
That's
when you go on
the
stage.
Truth.
That seems like a challenge when we're talking about an intricately designed visual experience playing out around you.
Yes.
How do you do Phish while still having this show that has to be pre-produced?
That was the first question we asked all the way back in June. And I think that we've done a great job solving it in many different ways. We were able to create a system for our Abby Holmes, who's going to be running the video and who has co-created it since day one, which is like in June, where she can organically run this in response to the band. We've also had hundreds of conversations about ways in which we can eliminate the hurdles so that if we go completely off script, we're going to be able to achieve that. It's the thing that we're most proud of. Now that I know how complex this room is, I think it's going to be something that we'll leave here with a lot of good feelings that we were able to overcome that hurdle. But we can and are going to go on stage with a rough plan, but the complete ability that if one of these crazy jams starts to magically happen and that we have a system in order that the production in place so that the production people can keep up, all the way down to a language that we created between the content on the wall and our amazing light designer Kris, where the baton can be passed back and forth organically. There's certain areas where he can step up, that he's the world's foremost expert at running the lights when everything's totally off script. That's his greatest skill.
Okay.
So we had that piece that we on the chessboard, right?
Yeah.
There's various other things that we had to accomplish, but
And you have the benefit of no one's really done this before, so whatever you do is going to be unique, and there's not a frame of reference. So if it doesn't hit quite right, no one's going to notice.
Well, we'd like it to hit quite right. And I think we can. But that's what we're practicing. That's what we practiced the week leading up. We practiced train wrecks.
You practice train wrecks?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm now going to throw you a curveball, production team. What are we going to do when this happens? So that the whole goal is that the 4 band members can, at the time of walking on stage, walk on with no plan, with no restrictions. At the same time, I know what all the content is because I've been there for the whole process, working together hand in hand with Abby. So there's an organic kind of set list that's been changing as the content was being built, right?
Yep.
Man, this one is really cool. This one is okay. Well, let's drop that one. Let's go with what's amazing. This is why you can't just add shows. It took 9 months to get to where we're at right now.
Do you get nervous before a show still? I mean, is there something that's keeping you up at night ahead of these?
I mean, I take my role really seriously. Oh boy, now I'm getting emotional a little bit, but probably the thing that would make me the most nervous would be if I let my band members down for my fourth of what we do up there. I mean, like, we each have our function. It's very much a team, like a sports team or something like that. Everybody's got their. And there was, a period in around 2000 or so where, I wasn't in a great place. And the hardest part about that for me was this moment where, Paige said to me, I always go on stage feeling safe because I know you've got this. And like all of a sudden I don't feel like you've got this anymore. And that really stuck in my head. And so even today, I want to support my brothers in this band and play well and sing well. And if it's a leadership situation, then lead well. Or if it's a following situation, then follow well. That's what I would get most nervous about. It's the idea that I wouldn't be there in support of them. The rest of it is, if you plan well enough, if you work really hard and you plan ahead, I find that you really have to practice and plan, that the zone ends up in the higher realms. Like a less good show would be still pretty good.
Yeah,
But they can tell. There's 3 people I can't fool.